Hello, in this video we will look on how to create an extension to import data from a file. So before we start, I recommend look through these links. They will be useful since building an import extension requires a good understanding of 1C coding and how extensions work. But you should be familiar with this if you watched previous video about making strict print form with an extension. Also, the video will come with a practical example, the extension itself and a sample CSV file for import. So, what problems extension solves? First, custom file formats. Your client sends data in their own unique column order with extra rows or a special format which standard uploader can't handle. Second, and this is the key point, complex processing. Often the task is not just to move data from one column to another. It's an entire business process. A single row from the file could require creating multiple objects, like item if it doesn't exist in the system, then a lot with unique properties, and sometimes we also need to fill in some additional custom fields. So, for such complex multi-step tasks with unique logic, when the standard data import tool is not enough, we need our own flexible extension. The first step is to create a new button on a form. New form objects in an extension are usually created using code. The buttons will be added in the onCreated server procedure, but don't forget to use the preprocessor after. So we need to create a command, a button, and connect them. And you can see the result in the second image. After that, we need to write some procedures for read file and pass it as a string to a processing procedure. You can use these procedures in your extension. Also pay attention that transfer item details is not a simple procedure, but a logic for a command that we made previously. It opens an explorer to find a needed file. So here is a processing procedure that transfers string data to an array with values. It is created not in a document form module, but in a separate common module. You can write logic here depending on your source file. Note the loop in the middle of the procedure. It's necessary to ensure that the commas inside the quotation marks are considered as a part of the value, not a separator. After that, we can pass to fill in the document's table part with data. I won't go too detailed about this step, as it depends entirely on your goals and objectives and will be very different from one extension to another. Here are a few key points to mention. So the table will be filled with data iterating over the previously received array in procedure compose result. You can examine this procedure more detailed by using the example extension. In this procedure, you can write any logic that is needed specifically for your solution. Also pay attention to the getProductsMap procedure, which optimizes product lookup and load creation. It also being called from compose result procedure. You can rewrite it for searching or creating any other object in the system. Remember to call onChange events such as product onChange and quantity onChange, otherwise parameters like units of measure, description, price units, taxes information, line total, document total, and things like that won't be filled automatically. And the last but not the least is showing import results. So displaying the import result may be crucial in three main scenarios. First, when the file contains a very large number of rows, making it hard to manually track whether every single line was successfully added to the system or not. When the source file contains more data fields than the system can process, in this case we must clearly see which specific data couldn't be transferred to avoid losing any important information. And of course, display unexpected errors. In example extension, you can see that we are showing total lines in the document. After that, we show total lines that were transferred. After that, we show the list of undefined products and the products without lots. And some undefined additional fields that are presented in a file but not presented in the system. And at the end, we show other errors. Let's take a quick look at the extension in the configurator and see where the procedures I mentioned earlier are located. So here is a common module and the procedure that transfers string data to an array data. Here is a document that we want to add our command. In my example, it's item receipt. We need to use document form and its module. Here is onCreated_server procedure that creates command. Here is the logic for this command. And here is main procedure compose_result, which fills the data inside the table part of the document. Also pay attention to this procedure, getProductMap. This procedure is needed to review and creating plots. Now let's see the brief review of extension working. So here is a button that we just added. I added to the document item receipt, but you can add it to any other document. We just press on the button, select the file that we need, open, and here it is, all the data transferred inside the document table part. Here is the item data, description, lot, and even custom fields inside the lot, quantity, units of measure, ship to, cost total, document total, everything right there. Also important text data, and the message that we receive after the transfer. So the total lines in document 5, total lines transferred 5, and the list of additional fields that were not found in the info base. That's it. Most likely you'll have to rewrite a lot of procedures of extension to complete your unique task, but example extension should be useful for you as a draft. Thank you for your attention. For more information, visit our website.